What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Corey Tulaba from NoCeilingsNBA.com. It's April. That means March Madness is over, and we are in full-blown draft season. So, No Ceilings is here to hit you with our April mock draft. This video is going to cover the first 30 picks, the first round, but you can check out the first and second round over at NoCeilingsNBA.com if you want to see who we rocked with in the later stages of the draft. Before we get to the draft lottery, right now we're going to go chalk, and right now Utah is in the lead on the Tankathon, so we are going to get right into it. With the first pick of the draft, the Utah Jazz are on the clock. With the first pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Cooper Flagg. Look, it'll be shocking if Flagg isn't the top pick. Regardless of who wins the lottery, Flagg's combination of physical tools, feel for the game, and two-way versatility is what NBA teams dream of with the top pick. Despite concerns over his shot coming into the season, Flagg consistently improved as a shooter and on-ball scorer throughout the year. The Jazz have been searching for that franchise cornerstone, and they'll have found it with Flagg. His defensive versatility and rebounding will be eagerly welcomed to what was the worst defense in the NBA this season. On offense, Flagg's scoring versatility, role versatility, and IQ will make life easier for everyone on the court. With the second pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Dylan Harper out of Rutgers. In what's widely seen as a two-player draft, Harper headlines the tier just behind Cooper Flagg, and he fits perfectly with Washington's young, evolving core. The Wizards are still searching for a true alpha, someone who could take over games and lead from the front, and Harper projects as exactly that. Harper, a dynamic jumbo guard with a powerful physical frame, brings a rare blend of scoring prowess and poise, whether he's finishing strong at the rim or orchestrating the offense with composure beyond his years. Harper gives Washington the offensive engine and top-tier talent that Washington's been missing. With the third pick in the draft, the Hornets are on the clock, and they select Ace Bailey. It's a frustrating predicament for them, especially given LaMelo's contract status and injury history. Nothing should be off the table here, but for that reason, a swing like Ace Bailey is worth considering. Many evaluators like to dwell on Bailey's flaws, and to be fair, they're concerning. He doesn't look to get to the rim much, and he posted poor assist numbers. Still, he's about 6'10", he's a really good shooter off the catch, he's comfortable putting it on the deck, he rebounds, and makes plays on defense. When you zoom out, his big picture skills contain value, and if he can work through his flaws, he could achieve a fantastic outcome. There's definitely some risk involved with taking Bailey here, but the upside of his elite tough shot making is worth that risk. With the fourth pick in the draft, New Orleans selects VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. New Orleans has quickly become one of the most fascinating teams to monitor ahead of the draft. With a new front office expected to take over, there are a number of directions in which the Pelicans could have gone. They have some promising young pieces on the roster that can offer some intriguing defensive versatility, including the likes of Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. But overkill is underrated. Adding VJ Edgecombe here for the Pelicans gives the team some special upside. Most rookies struggle offensively when making the jump to the next level. However, Edgecombe has the ability to make an impact in a number of different aspects without scoring. He's a high-motor, competitive guard who can fly out of nowhere for emphatic tip jams or show-stopping rejections at the rim. Edgecombe had some serious growth with his offensive game throughout his freshman year, and there's a world where a two-way nasty guard is just starting to rise to the surface. For a team that could be looking much different by the start of the season, VJ would be a wise addition due to his high floor, high upside combination. With the fifth pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select Derek Queen out of Maryland. The silver lining for a lost season in Philly is that they are very likely to hold onto their top 6 protected pick instead of having to ship it out to OKC. With that extra swing at adding talent to their aging and injured core, the Sixers snag the most offensively well-rounded big in the draft in Queen. He'll provide instant help on the glass for the team that finished the season dead last in rebounding, and his passing touch and flair will be huge for a team that has a few great isolation scores, but doesn't always do a good job of creating looks for others. Embiid's health situation is the elephant in the room for Philly, but Queen has the potential to take over at center in the short term and potentially play alongside him in the longer term if he could figure out that shot. The fit with Embiid and Queen isn't perfect, but admittedly, it's a bit funky, especially defensively, but Queen's talent will be hard for the Sixers to pass up here. With the sixth pick, the Brooklyn Nets are selecting Kaman Malawach out of Duke. The end of Malawach's time with Duke ended on a bit of a sour note, but there's still plenty that NBA teams love about his game. The old adage, you can't teach size, may have been an ancient basketball prophecy referencing Malawach. While his shot blocking numbers aren't considered elite, opposing teams had to make real-time business decisions when attacking the paint, contributing to the lack of attempts Kaman could block. Even though his rebounding took some criticism in the tournament, Common was among the best offensive rebounders in college hoops. For those who like their big men to shoot, his touch indicator suggests that he might be able to space the floor one day. At this point in the draft, the Nets would do well to take the player who may have the highest upside among the remaining prospects. At pick 7, the Toronto Raptors select Yegor Demin out of BYU. True to form, the Raptors stay on brand by targeting a big, versatile prospect with tantalizing upside, even if the jumper remains a work in progress. At around 6'9", the Russian-born guard/wing flashes mesmerizing passing ability, elite court vision, and a rare feel for the game that makes him one of the most creative playmakers in the class. While his shooting efficiency isn't there yet, his high-volume willingness and non-broken mechanics give Toronto reason to believe in long-term growth. In Demin, the Raptors see a potential high-level offensive initiator, someone who can elevate teammates and shape the identity of their next era. With the 8th pick in the draft, the San Antonio Spurs are taking Kon Knueppel out of Duke. Knueppel would be an incredible fit for the Spurs. The obvious skill addition is his shooting. At a minimum, Knueppel would provide the Spurs with a terrific spot-up shooting option. Knueppel's far more than just a shooter, though. All season, Kon was an excellent second-side creator for Duke. He proved that he's incredibly adept at getting into the paint, throwing lobs, finding perimeter shooters, finishing around the rim, and utilizing his strength to get to his spots. Kon's strength also shows up on the defensive end and perfectly complements his strong fundamentals. He's not going to be an all-defensive player, but he is far more effective than he's going to get credit for. Knueppel's two-way versatility, shooting, and feel for the game would help bolster San Antonio's perimeter rotation and versatility. At pick 9, the Houston Rockets on the clock select Carter Bryant out of Arizona. The Rockets should find themselves in a fascinating situation this offseason. They have one of the most exciting young rosters that are rapidly on the rise across the league. Amen Thompson has blossomed into a rising superstar, and the roster features plenty of intriguing pieces, including 2024 draft selection Reed Sheppard, who should be at the top of the sophomore leap lists. Houston could go in a number of different directions, but they could swing for a bit of upside as well. Despite a lack of elite production this season, Arizona freshman Carter Bryant continues to be a name on the rise in the evaluation world. Bryant's continued to take serious strides forward in his development this year. Coming off the bench for the Wildcats, Bryant established himself as a high-level defender who finds a way to make an impact without scoring. He's got an NBA-ready frame that pairs beautifully with serious vertical pop. Bryant has the makings of an early 3-and-D impact player with a bundle of toys offensively that are just waiting to be unlocked. Despite a loaded roster, Bryant has the tools and mentality that could pair beautifully with his Rockets roster moving forward. At pick 10, the Portland Trailblazers select Kasparas Jakučionis out of Illinois. Now, the Blazers are in an interesting situation. On one hand, they aren't a playoff team, so adding talent's essential. On the other hand, they're a budding young team that has talent that is still developing. Adding a player that can accentuate the existing talent while bringing some additional punch makes plenty of sense. Enter Kasparas Jakučionis. At Illinois, Kasper has proved that he is among the most imaginative facilitators in the college ranks. Geniuses often leave a mess, which would explain the turnovers that he had this past season. He proved he could play off other high-profile players at various positions, so integrating him into this young but deep roster should be relatively easy. The Blazers have size at a number of positions, and now have a player listed at 6'6" who could stir the proverbial drink in Portland. With the 11th pick, the Dallas Mavericks select Trey Johnson out of Texas. There's a lot to like with the fit here between player and team off the court, as Longhorn star Trey Johnson is from Garland, Texas, about a half an hour away from Dallas, but there's also a lot to like on the court as well, outside of Johnson not exactly meshing perfectly with the defense wins championships ethos of the front office. Johnson has a case as one of the best shooters in the class, and he's not just a floor spacing threat. He averaged just under 20 points per game as a freshman, pouring in buckets from all over the court. Johnson has the size to play alongside Kyrie Irving in the backcourt when Irving returns to health, and it'll be interesting to see if he would be tasked with more point guard responsibilities until Irving returned, which might stretch him a bit thin, but the ability to put the ball in the basket at a high clip from just about anywhere will be huge for a Mavericks team with plenty of question marks going forward. With the 12th pick in the draft, Chicago Bulls select Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. CMB presents the Chicago Bulls with both a safe and exciting value proposition. On one hand, there's his defense. Murray Boyles is big, long, and strong, moves his feet exceptionally well, but still has the raw power to handle bigger bodies inside. His on-ball versatility and off-ball intellect make him a handful as both a point-of-attack defender and a disruptor. On offense, he's a great screener, passer, and finisher. His jump shot is a question, but his slick handle and floor vision would go a long way in the event that he does shoot it. Given the guard-heavy nature of the Bulls roster and lack of a defensive anchor, he fills some holes right now, but don't underestimate his upside should he become a more reliable shooter. With the 13th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Asa Newell out of Georgia. The Hawks are in the midst of significant turnover, but they did enjoy a small slice of success in the name of player development. The acquisition of Dyson Daniels proved huge for the team. When Jalen Johnson played, he showed himself ready to take on a larger role. Onyeka Okongwu finally climbed Olympus to become the starting center. Zachary Richeche made several improvements that helped affirm him being taken number 1 for the Hawks, and bringing in a player that can help space the floor while protecting the rim would be a smart investment for this team. And that's what selecting Asa Newell should do theoretically. While his efficiency from deep wasn't pristine, Asa showed some promise as a plus-size floor spacer. Not only that, but he showed some vision that could be used in DHO sets. On defense, Newell's a great help defender. Atlanta is showing an emphasis on size and two-way ability in recent drafts, and the in-state Newell fits the bill. With the 14th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Danny Wolf out of Michigan. This is more of a wild card swing by the Spurs, but it's a really fun outcome. Wolf skyrocketed up boards this year as he essentially emerged as Michigan's point guard. Wolf completely altered his style of play from his time at Yale. The concerns about his ball security and on-ball shooting are valid, but with a significantly reduced level of responsibility, his efficiency should yet again skyrocket. Wolf has arguably the most unique blend of size and skill in the draft. He isn't a great primary rim protector, but he does move his feet well and holds his own in a scheme. He could provide some backup minutes at center for the Spurs when they go small and look to push the pace, but he could also play alongside Victor Wembanyama and run some of the most unique 4-5 offensive actions in the league. With the 15th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Noah Asenge out of Ulm. The Thunder continue to add potential assets to the roster as they will now be selecting 15th in the draft. It's always exciting to be picking near the top, but we've seen that the middle of the order can be the sweet spot when it comes to potential value creeping down the board. International forward Noah Asenge continues to be a bit of a diamond in the rough for this class. Asenge is one of the youngest players in the class and continues to trend upward with his development. There's a good combo of size and fluidity with Asenge, who continues to put everything together on the court. Noah has an outside shot that has taken some pretty big steps over the last couple of years, as well as some underrated playmaking ability. Most times with players like Asenge, you might consider him a project. The difference with Asenge is that he's got fantastic foundations of skills that are starting to come together. Oklahoma City would be wise to get a player of his upside here, as Noah Asenge could become a serious piece for this roster with patience. With the 16th pick, the Orlando Magic select Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. As the league continues to trend away from smaller guards, Richardson could buck the trend thanks to a highly coveted skill that Orlando desperately needs: perimeter shot creation. The Magic have the defensive size and length to insulate him, allowing Richardson to focus on what he does best: scoring the basketball efficiently. The lefty combo guard, son of former NBA standout Jason Richardson, is an uber-efficient offensive weapon, blending a buttery smooth jumper with high feel. Though he's undersized, his advanced scoring arsenal, polished IQ, and NBA pedigree give Orlando a dynamic backcourt piece with real upside. At pick 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. The Timberwolves already have a top-of-the-line superstar, some all-star and all-defensive talents around him, and a decent chunk of playoff experience. Now they just need to add some key pieces around their star to make everything else click. Enter Nick Clifford, one of the best two-way wings in the class. Clifford took a massive step forward offensively this past year, filling out some ancillary skills around his top-notch shooting and excellent defense. Pretty much every team could use a Nick Clifford or two, and Minnesota's no exception. Clifford would be just another great piece in one of the toughest defensive units in the league. With the 18th pick, the Miami Heat select Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. Now, the Heat find themselves in new territory following the Jimmy Butler trade, and while the Heat have never been a blow-it-up team, it would best serve them to take some upside swings to find foundational new pieces for their roster going forward. Last year, they hit on Khalil Ware. This year, we've got them taking another upside play in Jeremiah Fears. The Oklahoma product's skill set is a bit rough around the edges at the moment. He struggled both at the rim and from three. His off-ball defense can be frustrating, and his view of the floor is still developing. With that said, he was one of the youngest players in college basketball, and he showed an ability to take over games in the sport's biggest conference. His wicked handle enables him to get to his spots. He plays with a high level of effort at the point of attack, and he has some exciting shooting indicators. If his success at the free throw line and from the mid-range extends to the three-point line, he'll be cooking with gas. Fears would inject youth and a high ceiling proposition into Miami's backcourt. With the 19th pick, the Washington Wizards back on the clock select Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joseph's. If the Wizards end up landing one of the top two selections in the draft, then this pick is just going to be the icing on the cake, man. Despite picking 19th, there's a chance for a lot of talent being on the board. That means another opportunity to add a piece that bolsters the roster moving forward. How about getting a tone setter like Rasheer Fleming? Fleming is coming off a fantastic year that saw serious growth in a number of crucial areas. Fleming's an eye-opening prospect when you see him in person in terms of his physical profile. He's listed around 6'9", 245, and he has a rumored 7'4" wingspan. Fleming isn't going to be a creator off the bounce, but he's a plus-size forward with defensive upside and floor spacing potential. Pairing Harper and Fleming with this young Wizards core is another big step in the right direction. At pick 20, the Brooklyn Nets are on the clock, selecting Ben Saraf out of Ulm. After grabbing the towering Kalman Malawach early in the draft, Brooklyn doubles down on upside by pairing him with a dynamic backcourt partner in Saraf. The Israeli combo guard brings explosive downhill burst, crafty playmaking, and the vision to connect with lob threats like Malawach in the pick and roll. Already making waves in Germany's top league, Saraf's blend of scoring, facilitating, and relentless pace gives the Nets a guard who can bend defenses and push the tempo. With his athleticism and offensive instincts, Saraf adds a jolt of energy to a Brooklyn team in search of its next cornerstone. At pick 21, the Utah Jazz are on the clock, and they select Nolan Traore out of St. Quentin. Traore has fallen off draft raters a bit after starting the season as a top 5 to top 10 level pick, but he has still shown plenty of impressive flashes this season as a teenager starting at point guard in one of the most difficult professional leagues in the world. The poor shooting numbers are concerning, and they are the main reason behind Nolan tumbling down boards. Still, he's lightning quick, and he has a case as the best passing prospect in the class. The Jazz have shown a willingness before to take bets on top-ranked high school/youth players who lost their luster before getting drafted. See Isaiah Collier. So adding Traore here at 21 would be right in their wheelhouse. At pick 22, the Atlanta Hawks select Liam McNeely out of UConn. The Hawks will have a new front office for this draft, but in recent years, they've targeted big wings. McNeely's one of the best spot-up shooters in the draft, but he also has a really high passing IQ. In a situation where he isn't asked to create nearly as much as he was at UConn, McNeely can thrive more as an off-ball scorer and creator. Snagging a shooter with McNeely's size and pedigree this late would be excellent value for the Hawks. At pick 23, the Indiana Pacers select Adu Tiero out of Arkansas. The Pacers love to play an up-tempo game. Tiero fits that like a glove. He's a blur in transition with a skill set that complements his physical gifts. He can rack up steals, blocks, and rebounds before leading the break. From there, he can finish above the rim or make clever passing deliveries. His defensive production and overall athleticism make him a worthy swing in this range, but he'd also bring a slashing wing element that they haven't had with this roster. Tiero's shaky jump shot is the cloud that looms over his game, but even if he struggles to get there from deep, the cushion that Miles Turner provides as a spacer at the 5 spot could help him quite a bit. With the 24th pick, the Orlando Magic are back on the board selecting Will Riley out of Illinois. After going guard with their first pick, the Magic go back to their roots and select a player that's a little bit taller. Riley had an up-and-down season for the Illini, but his highs are among the highest of any within this class. Yes, he's a little slight of frame, but he played an aggressive game and finished at the rim within the 66th percentile. He also showed a little bit of toughness on the defensive side of the ball, even if he was inconsistent. The finishing and defense fit the mold of what Orlando will typically look for, but in order for Riley to reach his highest ceiling, he needs to be a more consistent shooter from deep, a skill that was considered his calling card coming into the year. This rings even more true if he's going to play for the Magic. At pick 25, the Oklahoma City Thunder are back on the clock, and they select Yaxel Lenderborg. OKC's value multi-dimensional high-field producers, and that's Lenderborg. He's a high-motor rebounder on both ends of the floor. Defensively, he can drop back and protect the rim, or play in more aggressive schemes that put a significant amount of pressure on the ball handler. Offensively, he is not a jump shooter, but he's shown tremendous skill as a playmaker. He can make impressive reads from the top of the key, attack the basket, and see the floor on the move. If his game scales up, his modern blend of size and skill would make him a perfect match for the 5-out direction of the league. OKC has an embarrassment of riches, so finding a role player for anyone they take here would be tricky. But you can't go wrong with a guy who's tall, really knows how to play, produces in a variety of ways, and competes with an edge. At 26, the Brooklyn Nets are back on the clock, and they select LeBaron Philon out of Alabama. The Nets should be taking as many home run swings as possible, and LeBaron Philon is one of the most intriguing in this draft. Philon's quickly announced himself as a legitimate one-and-done option this year through his electric on-ball creation and physical defense. There aren't many guards who are better than Philon at getting to the rim and creating out of drives. The catch is that Philon can't really shoot. He had some stretches of shooting competence, but he was largely inefficient on jumpers. If the shot does come around, he could be the steal of the draft. Even if it doesn't, he still has plenty of tools to have a solid career that'll more than warrant a late first-round selection. Back on the clock again, the Brooklyn Nets at 27 select Hugo Gonzalez out of Real Madrid. Given his limited playing time for Real Madrid, which was completely expected given their ridiculously overloaded roster, seriously, go take a look, there isn't much film to evaluate this season for Hugo. What does jump out right away, though, is his defensive acumen. Gonzalez has NBA-ready size at 6'6", 207, and he holds up well as anyone in the class in terms of screen navigation and overall on-ball defense. After shifting their team identity more toward the defensive end as the season went on, and after picking up Kamen Malawach, Ben Saraf, and LeBaron Philon with their previous picks, the Knicks can afford to take another defensive swing here. The main question for Gonzalez will be the shot. He's connected on just 29% of his triples this season after hitting only 24% the year before. The shot looks okay, and his free throw percentage, among other touch indicators, show that there's reason to be optimistic. Gonzalez's high feel and preternatural cutting instincts will help him contribute offensively in the meantime. Still, his main calling card at this point is his defense, and that defensive ability would be enticing enough for Brooklyn to take the swing on him here in the hopes that he can figure out more offensively. At pick 28, the Boston Celtics select Walter Clayton Jr. out of Florida. Peyton Pritchard has been tremendous for the Celtics and is under contract with the team for the next couple of years on a very team-friendly deal. But Boston could look for another offensive weapon in their rotation who could be groomed to take the mantle from Pritchard eventually if the price tag gets too high. Sometimes when you're a team like the Celtics with this type of roster, you might have to start planning years down the road. Regardless, the Florida guard would give the Celtics another potential headache for opposing defenses to have to handle. At 29, the Phoenix Suns select Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. What do you get the team that has What do you get the team that has little draft capital, no coach, an aging superstar who is negotiating his way to another team, and one of the highest payrolls in the league? It's going to take several bites to eat this elephant, but Thomas Sorber falling into Phoenix's lap at 29 should go down easy. He's a tough rebounder, relentless scorer, and promising defender. His athleticism has seldom been discussed, but he brings some lift along with strength to the Valley. If the Suns are able to land Thomas in the draft, it wouldn't be long before we hear some Amare 2.0 buzz, or at least Marquise Chris 2.0. And rounding out the first round is the Los Angeles Clippers at pick 30, and they're selecting Tahad Pettiford out of Auburn. Fresh off a breakout freshman campaign that helped lead the Tigers to the Final Four, Pettiford brings big-time talent in a small package. The dynamic lead guard is a blur with the ball, capable of creating his own shot, scoring in quick bursts, and providing instant offense off the bench. While his size presents challenges, the Clippers are betting on his pedigree, explosiveness, and ability to play both on and off the ball alongside stars like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. Tahad adds a spark to an older roster and gives LA a potential long-term answer at the point. Thanks for watching this 2025 NBA mock draft. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, share, tell all your friends, and stay locked in for more NBA draft content.